Okay, so final news topic of the week, and we're going to be talking about Halo. And there's certainly, well, two different stories we want to approach here. One of which is pretty cool, and the other is, I think, very worrying. John, take it away.
Okay, well, the positive story is well, do you guys like Halo?
Oh
Well,
yeah.
If you do you like Halo Combat Evolved? If you like Halo Combat Evolved, have you ever thought about what if I could play Halo Combat Evolved in
that would
VR?
be fantastic.
Oh.
Be fantastic. Well, my friends, the day is upon us thanks to Winlator XR, uh, which is basically seemingly a way to play sort of like PC games on a standalone handheld or
Yep.
SoC. They've got Halo VR working on the Meta Quest and Pico headsets now. So you too can experience Master Chief's adventures in a form of VR now, which is so it's like they actually have you can do it both as like a large screen visualizer of the game running, or you can actually do it with like proper per hand
Wow.
controls and like proper VR. And geez, it's actually like it's wild now. Like all these years later, to be able to see something like Halo just running on a standalone VR headset that you can play fully in VR like this, and I think that's really freaking cool. Um, and so it's something where if you guys happen to have one of these headsets floating around, you're still into it. It's definitely something worth exploring, and it actually seems like this offers some other options for bringing other types of games from the PC over to run on headsets.
Right. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's like a translation layer, I guess. I haven't experimented enough with it just yet, but it's something available. I guess you can get it through both side quest and non other methods as well. But there's basically it seems like a way to like load on PC games directly in your quest. And I guess for some of them you just play it like in a window, but this one actually does seem to have proper VR
Yeah, I think
support.
well,
So
Winlator is an ARM to sorry an x86 to ARM translation layer, right? So we've seen a lot
yes,
of
yes.
games running on it, but this one is actually the first VR game that I've seen.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So this actually has proper VR implementation, which a lot of them didn't. Some of the other regular ones that work, by the way, you get stuff like Alien Isolation, Bioshock Infinite, Fear runs on there, Fallout 3, GTA 5, apparently. Wow.
Yep.
Halo's definitely on there, of course. Mirror's Edge is on there, and a bunch of others as well. System Shock 2 25th anniversary, and System Shock Remake, among others. So those all work on the Quest 3. That's really cool,
Amazing.
I gotta say. I need to play around with more of this. But either way, Halo VR, it's here. Uh Worth checking
Hmm.
out. But it's not the only Halo news that we have to talk about, is it? Because so there was this I guess essentially a longtime artist that's worked on many Halo games, the art director, Glenn Israel. He left the franchise behind, and I think it also became clear then looking at the credits that like of all the people that worked on the art for Halo Infinite in the credits there's only one person still left there at the studio.
Right.
And with the follow up to him leaving, there was also comments from people that work for like companies like EA and others, where they commented things like they even tried to hire me for like one third of my current salary and then only for 2 to 3 months, related to working for quote unquote Halo Studios, which is the new name for 343. And all of this just kind of makes me think like what the heck's happening within like the constant mishandling of Halo over the past decade, if you will, is just astounding to me. Like they really squandered this franchise in a big way, and I feel like they've really struggled to get back on top. And it seems like a lot of it just comes from leadership issues in the way the studio has been run, which 343 now Halo Studios, especially leaning so heavily on short-term contracting work and like failing to like establish a really solid base of like knowledge and expertise that's within the studio itself. Perhaps I don't know all the details, but it seems like there's definitely a story brewing there, and it's a shame because Halo was my favorite Xbox franchise. and really just an amazing series of games that never really 343 never managed to really do that much with it. I hate to say it.
Oliver, what do you think about all of this?
Well, I've got to say, Project Foundry did look pretty great. And there are rumors that a Halo CE announcement will be incoming, a remake of Halo CE, not the
Right.
VR project, but a remake. Apparently, there's
Right.
some talk about an announcement potentially October 24th to 26th at the Halo World Championship, something tied in with that. But in general, I think Microsoft's management of their franchises and studios does not seem very good. Obviously, Halo Infinite was an exceptionally poorly run project, I'd have to say. When you look at their practices with contracting, with having people on for 18 months, it just seems like a penny pinching move that ultimately is not destined to produce good results. Maybe it would actually work better, arguably, with this new approach with, working off of a commodity engine. Maybe you could bring in some other people on a more short-term basis. And that, in that instance, obviously did not work so well with, I think, the Slipstream engine, Slipspace engine or Slipstream engine. I can't quite remember.
Subspace, I think it was.
Okay. That was the basis for Halo Infinite. I actually enjoyed Halo Infinite in the end, even though it was single bio, even though it was stripped back massively from the kind of original remit in that E3, I think 2018 trailer that looked so terrific. I enjoyed what they shipped, but it was clearly kind of a hollow version of what they had initially proposed. Did not look as good, was not as interesting, was kind of stapled together from disparate parts, was not all that appealing in the end in terms of what it could have been. And I certainly hope that at least with Halo CE, with this remake effort that is rumored to be in development, I would presume that because it is a more back to basics effort, because they already have that outline of how the game should be, perhaps they actually could produce an efficient remake. But of course, the kind of, I guess, more obvious question is why remake a game that's already been remade? Perhaps they do something more significant with this remake. I'd imagine it would be a much more significant remake effort than the 2011 Halo CE anniversary, I believe it was called, by Saber. So I'd certainly hope they're doing something interesting with it. But this message does not seem too promising, I would say.
I think, well, from my perspective, the remake side of things, if it's similar to what Gears Reloaded did, right? If you're taking a massive platform exclusive franchise, multi-platform, you kind of want a project to reintroduce it to that new wider audience, which I think is a really good idea. I just hope the actual implementation is good, because there's certainly a lot of worrying signs, from across the years now, that things have not been particularly great at 343 and Halo Studios now. So, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I really do hope that I guess it's a new version of Halo. That's what was kind of hinted at in that particular trailer they put out. I hope it's pretty good. That's all I've really got to say about that. I'd have to admit, though, the VR side of things does look really, really good. I just kind of hope that, I guess there's a question of performance. It's go through a translation layer there.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd like to play around more with this and maybe come back with stronger impressions here.
Sorry, I just think that the idea is actually really, really cool. And sometimes, even if something isn't going to make a mountain of money, just the fact that it exists and is really cool actually goes a long way. So if there was an actual official port of Halo Combat Evolved to VR, similar to what Capcom did with Resident Evil 4 and stuff like that, I think that would be really, really cool, and it would get people excited and talking again.
Agree. I actually think that's something that people talk about, VR not being a huge success, but they found their niche. The Quest platform is pretty vibrant. There's a lot of stuff still coming out, and it seems to do fairly well. And I feel like a lot of companies, rather than devoting a lot of money to making big new games, they should really consider this approach, like with what Capcom did, or like what we see here, like this idea of bringing back a classic game from X number of years ago and making it run in VR. This is kind of what Team Beef has been doing for free for all these times with all the Doom, Quake, Doom 3 and up games, which are all expertly crafted. They feel like true native VR games. They're absolutely amazing to play it in VR, and they all run natively on the headset. And I feel like there's just money left on the table. It wouldn't be that costly to do this, and I feel like publishers could get some nice results from that. Not only to revive interest in franchises or like strengthen it, but just make some extra money for not a huge investment.
Yeah, and to be fair, Microsoft, it's kind of like a wouldn't it be cool if scenario, right? Wouldn't it be cool if Halo was a VR game? And Microsoft actually were used to be really good at that. Their back compat stuff that was really, really cool. Stuff like FPS
Also,
boost.
If you remember, Rich, Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary supported 3D TV.
Right. Yes.
Actually, I loved playing. I loved playing the 360 version of that in 3D. I had that Sony HMZ T1 headset. Yep. I still have it actually, and which is like it looks like a VR headset but without the motion stuff. It's just a giant 3D screen in front of you, and playing Halo in that was so freaking awesome and immersive. So,
any final thoughts, Oliver?
Not too much. I'm excited to see what this game ends up looking like. I'm approaching it with some trepidation. I love Halo C. I'm a huge fan of Halo C. I also did not mind the anniversary treatment too much. I actually enjoy it. Perhaps John is shuddering at the thought, but I actually.
I love the anniversary too.
Yeah,
I thought it was beautiful. But the first anniversary, I thought the visuals were pretty ugly. They didn't look great.
There were definitely elements that did not. It did not have much fealty to that original art.
No.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate, but I am excited for this, and I thought what they showed off with that Project Foundry footage looked terrific, and it did hint heavily at a Halo CE remake, so I'm excited to see how it ends up panning out in the year to come. They're talking about 2026, I think. Phil heavily hinted at that, so I imagine so pretty soon here.